If it's something you want to do, don't depend on somebody to tell you yes. She ride around here running red lights, stop signs, speeding, stuff, right? You have your whole life to do whatever you want to do. It doesn't take much to get me excited, but I'm excited about that. If you want me to do something, I'm your girl, but I'm going to need you to show up, you know.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Retrofit Radio, the podcast designed to highlight the voices behind better buildings. Today's guest is Marcy Mulholland-Chandler, an instructional designer who's changing the way that the Illinois Home Weatherization Assistance Program thinks about training for staff and contractors. As a side note, you'll hear us reference L&D multiple times throughout this episode. For reference, this stands for Learning and Development. Without further ado, please enjoy the episode.
Hi, Retrofit Radio and audience. My name is Marcy Mulholland-Chandler. I'm the senior instructional designer at CETA Weatherization. I've been in the adult learning field now for about 22 years. My background is technology and education. And I've been at CETA for like 7 years now, doing training, learning and development. It was a one-person show, and then I got Madden and Rob, and now we're expanding. So now we're expansion. So I love weather. We do everything weatherization and everything in between that. So I'm glad to be here.
Go ahead and walk me through how you got to be into weatherization.
Actually, it was by happenstance. I've run my own business for most of my life. Well, all of my work career, I've worked for myself. I was a hairstylist for 35 years, and then I was like, oh, my kids are getting older. I want to do something else, and I want to change. So I went back to college. I got my master's degree in computer science. And even back then, before then, I was doing workforce development. I don't know how old some people are, but I don't know if they remember the Opportunities Program with the Clinton administration. So I worked for the Opportunities Program, and back then it was called Human Performance and Training. It wasn't L&D, it wasn't e-learning or anything like that. And I was teaching women how to go back into the workforce. So they were learning like office skills, like they were learning Microsoft Suites and all those different things, and how to answer a phone and customer service. I've always liked helping people. And CETA had a training coordinator position come up. And I told my husband, you know what? I'm almost at the end of my career cycle. So I think I'm just gonna, give up the contract work and just, work my last few years doing something that I love. And I grew up with CETA as a whole because of I'm originally from Atlanta. And so I would come up here for the summer, and my grandmother lived in Chicago Heights, and CETA was right up the street. So every year we come up here for summer, we were in the CETA summer program, youth program. And I just remember how they really helped everybody in that community, and even the people that worked at CETA were from the community. So it was really community centered. And when I saw that, I felt that nostalgia feeling in my soul. And I was like, okay, this is my job. This one right here, this is it. This is how I'm gonna end my career, because, that of what they did for the community. So that's how I ended up here. And the ironic thing is that I came to Weatherization in 2019, and I may have been here about 6 months before the shutdown. And I was like, oh, crap. I was like, I'm finna go back to contracting, because I knew they were going to let us go. And, we weren't going to be kept on because, I was the last one here. So, the old saying, the last one in, the first one to leave.
Yep.
But it ended up being one of the greatest things I've ever done in my e-learning career, because that catapulted us doing training our first cohort virtually. So I trained a cohort of, I think it was 6 or 8 people through Teams, and we ran the whole, virtual working space for all of CETA. And, it was amazing. It was amazing. Some people who are still here from that cohort is Danny Alvarez, who's a production supervisor now or manager, Tony, and Ishrak was also in there. She runs our
Wow.
multifamily. So I trained them. They were my first test dummies, so I'm
Mhm.
training. And it was awesome. It was awesome. So we made it through that disaster, which came to be, one of our greatest feats is showing that this can be done virtually. And so it's only grown since then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for those who might not be familiar, can you walk us through what your job is?
Okay, you have to ask what day, because
Yeah, I
it
know.
changes from day to day. Um, and that's a funny thing about, I think, I'm a unicorn because because of and I've always said this when I did interviews, and they would always look at my resume, and they was like, "Oh, you have a very vast array of skill
Mhm,
set." I said, "Well, it's eclectic, which I like." I said, "It's very eclectic." I said, "But that means that I could fit in anywhere."
mhm.
And being an adult learner, I think I have the greatest vantage point because I was an adult learner. I was not your A, B student in school. I was the CD, and I was nice and pleasant, so I know a lot of the D's should have probably been F's, but, nevertheless, I I really got into, learning as an adult. So, on any given day, I could write code, I develop training, I do needs assessments. So if someone needs training, we go out and we make sure is it a training need, or is it a restructure or redirection or something like that. So we should start off at the beginning of if it's a need. So with e-learning, that's where we start. We start where the learner is, and then we develop from there. And no two e-learnings are the same because we train people from 16 to 86. And I can tell you, I've trained from 16 to 86, and it's been different. None of my trainings have been the same. It could be the same topic, but the reach and the response and the delivery is always going to be different. It should never be the same because learning is not cookie cutter.
What was your process like coming in as a L&D specialist into a really technical field? What was your learning curve like to learn the technical side of weatherization?
I It really was. It wasn't steep. Um, it was different because, well, you don't know. Well, I grew up in a construction family.
Really?
So yeah, my dad was what they used to call back then a finisher. My grandfather owned the construction company and he was a framer. And I have cousins who are masons and masonaries, or I guess they call them masons. And we have plumbers and electricians. So I grew up and I was raised at job sites. So, I knew a little bit, and by my career being so eclectic, before I came here, I worked at US Cellular in the department for the linemen. So I had to know all the OSHA 30. I got my OSHA 30, my OSHA 10. I created like 75 trainings for their installers. So they had to go down in silos. So I did confined spaces, and I did, fall and harnessed and arc. And so by working for yourself, I got a vast array of knowledge coming in. So I did what everybody else did. I said, send me to TCP. And TCP is the training that our energy auditors go through to get certified by the state of Illinois. And so I took the class because how could I teach you if I don't know what you know? So that was enlightening. And I really learned a lot. So I'm a lifetime learner, and I don't use that term lightly because if it's something I want to know, I go out and learn it. Whether it be YouTube University or I do a whole bunch of webinars, and Madden can tell you. I was like, "Oh, Madden, when she first came,
Mm-hmm.
let me see you this webinar on this subject or that subject." And I think if you just love learning, nothing is too hard for you to learn. It may not be your jam, but you could say, "I know enough to have a conversation about it." And I think that's what I am. I know enough to be dangerous, you know? I know it just enough to be dangerous. I tell my husband all the time. He's like, "Oh, you think you know everything?" I say, "I know a little bit about a lot of stuff."
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay, so let's run it back. You spent a long time as a hairdresser.
Mhm.
What came between hairdressing and CETA? Obviously your own business, but you were an
Yeah.
educator for a time too,
Yeah.
right?
Yep, I did. Well, the education got me through grad school because I was just going to go and get my bachelor's degree. And I worked at the university. I was over the College of Arts and Sciences. So I did their websites and I uploaded and I ran their what we call LMS now was Blackboard. And so I've always done it, but I didn't know I was doing it because it was called something else. And like I said, it was called Human Performance and Training. And I was teaching still then because I ran a after school program. So I've always been teaching ever since like 2004. I've been teaching. So I never stopped teaching, until I got no, I did stop teaching because the kids changed. But when my business picked up, my design business, because I have MMC Designs, I couldn't teach anymore, but I still ran like summer programs. I was with Wiz Kids, so I taught the kids how to do coding and how to do computer networking, and setting up networks. And I've even done that professionally with H&R Block. I used to go out and set up all the offices and set up the MagTech machines and set up the databases for all your tax needs.
Hmm.
I was that girl, and then downloading all the information and putting it up on their mainframe server. So I've always um, done some kind of training, but didn't know that that's what I was
Mhm.
doing. Didn't know the formal name of it. So, yeah, I had a vast array of assignments between CETA and when I graduated college. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
So
think I've
as a
hit everything.
yeah, as a contractor, I know you've worked with a lot of different companies.
Yeah.
Um, what are some of the do you remember
Oh, yeah. Oh,
any
yeah.
cool ones?
Uh, Banking, and who would have thought banking was interesting? But like I said, every place you go, you should pick up something. So I was in charge of the different kind of. I didn't know it was different kind of mortgages. So I was in charge of developing training for our mortgage brokers at BMO Harris Bank. So that's when I learned all about home loans, mortgages,
There you go.
arms. So, you just pick up all this stuff, and then I would come home like a kid, and my family would have to listen to all the cool stuff.
Yeah.
And they didn't think that stuff was cool, but that was very interesting how money works and how, when you look at $1 million house, and you was like, nobody could ever, we could live in $1 million house. It's really not that much money,
Mhm.
when you think about it and how they break down and amortization. And I was like, oh my God. It was really fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And then I think the other one was when I worked for the Department of Energy. I was working with scientists. Oh, they're butter knives, so they're dull. But you know me, I have a very, outgoing personality.
Mhm.
So, by the time I left DOE, me and the scientists were friends, and we were going out to drink, and they were pretty cool dudes because, again, I liked science too, and we helped build, a database system for their research out in Darien, Illinois. So I worked out there for I think I got a internship through them. I got a scholarship through them, and so I would have to go out every summer and work with those guys. But that was
Mhm.
cool, and they tried to keep me. I was like, "Oh no, I cannot do this every day of my life." But it was cool being. So I
Mhm.
did. It's really no place that I worked that I didn't get something out of or that I didn't find cool and interesting, and I wouldn't say I wouldn't go back here. You know how people say, "I would never work." Every place I've worked, I would go back to.
Hmm.
I would.
So what are you learning right now?
I'm learning AI.
Okay.
It's crazy. I'm learning AI, as, as we're moving towards everything is moving towards AI. And it's not like you have to learn, it's not hard to learn. And it's not a steep learning curve because each iteration gets easier and easier for
Right.
entry. So with L&D now, Madden and I and Rob, we just came back from a training conference and it's used every place, even in space.
For any listeners that might not know, Rob is a senior project manager that we work very closely with on a
Yes.
lot of our initiatives.
Me and Madden and Rob found out that it's used across the board. And I've been interested because of my tech background. When ChatGPT first came out, I was like, "Oh, this is cool," And as it evolved, it gets better and better and better and better. So now I'm working on a project with OCA, which is who we have a contract through to create like conversational bots to kind of mitigate some of the issues that we have with answering questions for people and just having all the knowledge readily available for them so they don't have to flip through books. They could just ask the conversation bot a question about, I need to know how to put up a blower door and where do I hang the manometer or where, and then the chat bot will walk them through a step or something like that. We're going to use it hopefully across the board with different things like the assessment manual, the regs manual, so regulations, and it'll have everything in there. So you will have no excuse to say I didn't know
Yeah.
because all you had to do was hit the conversation chat bot, ask them the question, and it'll walk you through it. So I'm really, really excited. It doesn't take much to get me excited, but I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. So
So, Marcy, I want to hear more about what it was like for you being a coder back when you first started.
it was hard. This had to be 1998, 99. And during that time, you didn't see people who look like me. For people who don't know, I'm an African American woman. um, and back then it was you were either Indian or Asian or white males. It wasn't even a lot of women. And it was hard to kind of break into that because they looked at you and you didn't look like what they thought um, developers were or coders were or even designers because I started out as in web development and graphic designs, but that wasn't people didn't look like me who did that work. That is what catapulted me to start my own business. So it was 2 Black girls in the whole class. It was me and a girl named Alonda. So after we graduated, we tried to get jobs and we became friends. So we talked about it. So we could never find anything. So we created our own business. We were Web Divas
Mhm.
411. And that's where it came from. And so what we did was we started doing pro bono work. So we would, and that's when the internet was still new, and people was like, "Oh, I don't need a website," and "Oh, I don't," they didn't know anything about it, so they were scared of it. So what we started doing is we started going to network parties. We joined the Chamber of Commerce. We got with our college and got with some senators and some congressmen and said, "Oh, you need a website? Well, we'll do it for free," and blah 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 blah.
Hmm.
So we kind of catapulted from there, and we got contracts, and we just started doing our own thing. Because when somebody won't hire you for a job, you create a job for yourself. And I've always done that. That's my motto, and that's what I teach my kids, and that's what I teach other kids. If it's something you want to do, don't depend on somebody to tell you yes. Make your own yes. And so we kind of catapulted from there. Um, we were in business for like maybe 8 or 9 years. And she was much older than me because she was a displaced worker from America. She got laid off from American Airlines, and they
Hmm.
paid for her to go back to school to get another career, and that's what she did. And then she wanted to do something else, so we kind of split up Web Divas, and then that's when I became M to C Designs, MMC Designs. I was solo, and I just kept going because then I started doing other things, like I said, learning and development. So that's how it kind of spawned off by somebody telling me no.
I feel like the best stories always start with a no.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do. And what you do with the no,
Hmm.
and I would never take no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what have you learned from all of the jobs that you've had? What's your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway for what I do and where I sit currently is that you're never too old.
Hmm.
You're never too old. If you want to change something, if you want to do something at 50, what's stopping you?
Right.
If you want to do something at 20, you have your whole life to do whatever you want to do. And I think I treat Madden like she's one of my daughters too. It's like, Madden, you're you're at this age, girl. I would do this. I would do it. Would not, if it's something that I wanted to learn how to do and do it, I would do it because you only get one chance to do it. And the only thing I do is I have regrets that I didn't do it earlier. But I started, I guess, when I was supposed to start. And me and one of our coworkers here, we always say, we go die in these seats because I really enjoy what I do. It brings me happiness to do what I do, and to see people get what I'm trying to give them. And when you see your students have an aha moment because you made the learning so that they could absorb what you were giving them, and they was like, I got it. I was like, that's it. That's the feeling. So, you're never too old. Just do whatever you feel like you wanna do. The only thing stopping you is you.
So, in your current role, what would you say is a challenge that you face?
The challenge that I faced throughout my whole career is that my job is dependent on other people.
Hmm.
Um, we have great ideas as designers and as learning strategists and things of that nature, but technically, I'm making your vision come to life. I'm not making my vision come to life. So the challenges are when we have subject matter experts or just people who want us to build something for them and they're not 10 toes in. And we're
Hmm.
10 toes in because,
Right.
you know what, if you want me to do something, I'm your girl, but I'm going to need you to show up, you know. And I've explained that to Rob so many times. I was like, our job, we just can't go if if we have no direction. And it's up to the people to give us direction on where to go. So if you with me step by step, this thing is a breeze. It's
Yeah.
heaven, but it's never heaven. It's
Hmm.
never heaven. Every place I've been, I've had to chase down subject matter experts, and I told them I'm gonna come to your house. We're gonna sit down for dinner because somebody has to keep this train on the track.
Hmm.
So just the downside of this business period. But other than that, I don't see any, roadblocks. You know,
Mhm.
if in the world of perfect, everything would fall into place, everybody would give me their deliverables, and I get them back, and we get it approved, and then we'll do a pilot, and then we'll do a reiteration, and then everything would be perfect. But we don't live in the land of perfect, so sometimes we have to chase people down, tie 'em down, shoot them with water guns, nerve guns, and say, "You got to sit here until you give me what I need."
Mhm.
So that's probably the biggest challenge I think we have.
What's your favorite part of your job?
Um, again, the people, the people. I'm a very hands-on person, so we just rolled out a MFBA training where we had 2 pilot classes. We had a skilled Actually, we had 2 skills, but the second skilled had 2 individuals in it who knew nothing about, home performance and knew nothing about a house as a system and building performance. They knew nothing. They weren't even novice. And to see them Doc and I, and that's Sharon Moore. Dr. Moore is our curriculum developer. She develops all the curriculum, and me and her audited the class. So we sat in there, and as she was looking at the faces of the learners, she was changing things in real time, and she has such a keen eye. She was like, "We're losing them. We need to do this," and then we get them back, and then she was like, "This worked. This one worked." So what we did was we shifted in real time. And the greatest thing to me is when the 2 novice passed the test and they said that they really appreciate the time and effort that we put into the training. And we do have to shout out our trainers, our facilitators, Dan Maximu, Steve Marchese, and John Yee. They are awesome and facilitators, and they have this thing on lock. I said, you, they could teach us how to boil an egg and make it interesting, so they just have that. So it's the right chemistry. So we have the perfect storm. So we had the perfect storm. And when those 2 guys passed, I was like, that's it, Doc. We got it. We got it. So that feeling, that's it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So my next question for you is, now that you're in the weatherization field, what are some updates you've made on your house to improve its performance?
Not a doggone thing.
Really?
I see a lot.
Mhm.
I see a lot. I did update my lighting. Sorry. I put in
Okay.
LEDs. I put in LED recessed
That's an easy
lighting.
fix.
Yeah, I did that. But the thing is with being in weather and living in a home, even buying a home and going to other people's home, it's a bunch of crap. You
Mhm.
think my son has this beautiful 11,000 square foot home. And I'm looking, I'm like, I see this, I see
Mhm.
that. Even my little house, you look at things differently.
Yeah, you'll
So
never
you're
look at a house the
always
same.
never, never, and you're always critiquing it. You're looking over and you see where the wall is separated. And I want a personal IR camera. I want an
Yeah.
infrared camera so I can see. I know where the ice dams come from because I live in a townhouse community, and my next door neighbor gets these ice dams that go from the roof of her house, and our house has a step up. It has 6 steps up, so it's not ground level. It's from the roof of her house down to her garage. I
Oh
said,
my
"Oh,
gosh.
she has terrible air leakage. Her heat is going out her roof." Because we have the overhang and we have cantilever ceiling. I know all that. I feel the air coming up in my bedroom because I'm over the garage. So I know all the weak points in my house. But, I
Yeah.
told my husband, I was like, we need to insulate this garage ceiling because it's over the floor. I mean, it's over my master bedroom is over it. So soon as my feet hit the ground, the carpet, I could feel the air moving. So no, I haven't done anything. Gosh darn it.
That's okay. I just think it's interesting how people look differently at houses.
Yeah. I mean, even houses where they're beautiful. And I was interviewed a couple of years ago about weatherization. And I think I had mentioned that in the interview, how people, with the layman eye, you're looking at it and you're like, this is gorgeous. I said, but then you get up in the attic and you see mold and you see where the joists are separated and you see where the insulation is moved and it's not laid right and it's not enough for the area. But on the
Mhm.
outside, it's beautiful.
Yeah, but
Beautiful.
once you've been behind the curtain,
Yeah.
and that's a door you can't shut.
You can't shut it.
Yeah.
The door is no longer there.
Yeah.
There's no more curtains. You see everything.
Mhm.
And even, my daughter's in real estate, and I tell her to tell her, and she was like, "Ma, I can't be telling all my clients this. I never sell a house." I said, "Tell your clients to hire someone who specializes in home efficiency.
Mhm.
So when they go up into those crawl spaces and they go in those attics, they can see those things because my daughter bought a house in Atlanta and she had it inspected. Girl paid $600 for the home inspection. Got in the house. It was wintertime. Her downstairs was freezing. Come to find out that the ducts had separated. Well, she lives in Atlanta, so the ducts are under the crawl space, which is accessed from the outside.
Mhm.
The ducts had come loose in the
No.
crawl space. So we're heating up outside.
Mhm.
And it was not getting. I said, "Didn't you have a home inspection?" She sent me the home inspection and everything. He said he inspected it. Why didn't he catch it? That's maybe not something that they look for,
Right.
so it's those kind of things. So when I buy my dream home,
What is your dream home?
uh, probably a she shed. I want to live in a tiny house. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
I don't need big and elaborate. I tiny where I could get
Mhm.
up in the attic and lay my bat on myself and do all the stuff myself.
Where at?
Yeah.
In Chicago or
Oh
somewhere else?
no, you know what? I could live in a hut on an island.
Okay.
I keep my car at 82 degrees. Rob complains about that all the time. It's 82. My car is at 82 degrees. I'm in
Year
energy
round.
efficiency, but I don't mind paying for the gas. Year
So,
round. Year
okay, year
round.
round 82.
Yeah, I'm
Even
a
in the
Southern
summer?
girl. Yes, I'm a
That's
Southern
true.
girl. I told Steve I could sit on the sun. I could sit on the sun.
So
Yes.
a she shed on a tropical
A
island
she shed on a tropical
with a
island
car at 82.
with a car at 82.
That's
Well,
the
in
goal.
a tropical, I don't need the car. I could just have a little.
A little
You can give me
bike.
a bike, yeah, with a little canopy over it, so I'll pedal on down the. Yeah, that's my dream. That's my
I
dream.
like it.
You do. You can come visit, Madden.
I would love that. Okay. So I want to hear about your creative outlets outside of work. So your sewing, any other
Oh,
projects you've got going.
well, you all have been keeping me so busy, not you in particularly,
I
but
was like, me.
weatherization has been keeping me so busy. I haven't had chance to, but I, I I'm a creative person. I sew, I crochet, I decorate. I love to decorate. I paint. Um, I love all the things I love to kind of bring me back down to reality, but it's still within the realm of where we are in design. Everything. I think my life is a canvas. It's a design. It's a storyboard. My life is a storyboard. So I would do it for free. I would decorate somebody's house for free, make
Mhm.
floral arrangements. I'm decorating my daughter's house without her permission. I see something and I send it to her. She was like, "A package came." I was like, "Oh, I ordered this thing for you, and I think it'll go great in your living room. I ordered you this ceiling fan, and I think it'll be great in your." And they ask me, and it's nice having kids now that they're out on their own and they know what you like and they ask your input about different things
Mhm.
and I just love creating.
Yeah.
I'm just a creative at heart. Yeah.
What are you sewing right now?
I made 2 evening gowns because my son and my daughter-in-law, they renewed their vows, and come to find out, when somebody says black attire, they mean the color black. This is millennial talk.
I thought that meant black tie.
I thought it meant black tie too, because I made this beautiful one shoulder gown, off the shoulder gown that had a drape in the front and it went down to a mermaid at the bottom. And 5 days before the dinner, she was like, Mom, let me see what you're making. And I turned around and it was chocolate brown satin. She was like, it's not black. I said, it did say black. I said, black tie doesn't have to be black. She said, it's black attire. I said, what's the difference? I found out. So, and I did end up making this beautiful crushed velvet black dress in 3 days. It was gorgeous.
Gosh.
It was gorgeous.
It was. I saw it.
Yeah, you did. Oh, and I looked good in it, didn't I, Madden? I wore it well. I was like, I'm the best mother of the groom you've ever seen. You know? But yeah, so and that's the thing about being a creative. You know, you could do these things. I could have went out and paid $1,000 for a dress. I made a dress with some fabric I got from Amazon for $35 and my 4 or 5 hours of my time, and I look fabulous. You know, so that's the thing about it. You know, I love creating something out of nothing.
Yeah. What's your next sewing project? Do you know?
I don't know. You know what I want? You know, the trend now is they call them pantaloons and bloomers. The old-fashioned ones that come down to your knees and they have the lace like the ladies wore in the 20s. I know I'm a little bit too old for those.
No,
so I'm
Marcy,
hoping
you're not too old for anything.
Okay. You keep don't be talking about me behind my back, man. It'd be like, did you see Marcy in them pantaloons? To be like, but I would just make them, and I was like, okay. I said, I want to do something like that. And everything is so feminine now with the lace and the satin. I'm a very feminine woman, and I just love that kind of stuff. So I have a collection of stuff, and I'm gonna give a lot of stuff to Madden when she moves into her house, because she likes to sew too. Or I don't know if she's been sewing lately, but I just love that. I'm gonna get her size, and we're gonna have matching pantaloons at the next conference. And
oh my gosh,
and our so camis with our jackets. Yeah, we're gonna be dressed alike. And I make T-shirts. I made T-shirts. I took my kids. I was at a conference. Madden was there too, and Rob. And I invited my kids down for a couple of days, and I made all of us Disney T-shirts. So everybody got to pick what they wanted on their Disney T-shirts. So I even do those. I make T-shirts, caps, hats, jewelry. I run the gamut. So, yeah. So that was the last thing I made, was some Disney T-shirts and hats.
Very cool.
Yes. Yeah.
So my question next is, what advice would you give 20-year-old you?
Start early. Do everything you want to do. Don't put it off. Don't sacrifice yourself for others. Because at 20, I didn't have any kids. I was single. I was still with my husband then, because we've been together for 42 years. So we were together. I think I would have done more instead of, I was outside. Look it up. I was outside. So I would have been less outside and more into me and doing the things that I want to do. But I don't regret it, but I would have started earlier with this career. I didn't know I didn't know it existed. And that's what and when I talk to students and when I talk to young people and I tell them what I do, a lot of Black and brown kids don't know that this exists. They don't know weatherization exists. And that's the thing about being a champion for someone, to show them that, you do it. And I get a lot of young Black girls and young brown girls ask, well, how did you do it? I kind of fell into it, but now there's a process, that you could do it. And you should explore it, because it gives you still have the freedom to do it, to do what you want to do. And you're constantly learning. But the caveat is you have to be a learner. You have to be a lifetime learner to do what we do. And if you don't like learning, and if you don't like that thing, this is not the career for you, because your job is learning and development, or learning and, strategies and learning. So you have to learn the way they learn and try to figure out how to deliver, how to take a complicated, complex process and make it simple for average people. And my thing is I always compare things to food, life situations. So you have to make it relatable and to catch the learner. And then that's how they get it, because that's how somebody gave it to me. And I was like, I had aha moments. You have to compare it to something to make it relatable. So that's what I would tell 20-year-old Marcy. Get out the club, girl. Get out the club.
Get out the
Go
club.
over there and learn something. You're shaking your tail feather 3 nights a week. Go over there and learn something. But, yeah, that's what I would tell her. Sit down. Learn something.
That's so funny.
It's the truth. I had a good time, man.
Yeah, I mean... Okay, the next little segment that we like to do is I have a list of 20 kind of random but personal questions.
Okay.
And I'm going to have you give me 3 numbers, 1 through 20. Any numbers you want.
Number 7.
Number 7. All right. What's something that you're terrible at but you wish you could do well?
Spelling.
Okay.
I'm a terrible. My kids give me every time. I say I spell phonetically and it's wrong. It's wrong. And they was like, "Ma, how could you read and you can't spell?" I said, "They're 2 different things.
They are
They're
2
different things."
And that's why you use voice to text.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they're 2 different things. I said, I'm a horrible speller. Still today. That's the best. Because I used to walk around with a thesaurus and a dictionary in my purse.
No way.
I did.
A big one?
No. When they came pocket size.
Okay.
They used to have pocket. I know you probably never seen one in writing.
No.
But they used to have pocket size dictionaries and thesaurus. And I used to keep it in my purse because you had to write stuff. So before you wrote it, I would check to make sure the spelling was correct. So it's crazy, but yes, spelling.
I never would have guessed.
And I watched the spelling bee. I love spelling, but everything is very phonetically, and that's how I learned how to read phonetically. We sounded out the words, but the words don't come out the same way they sound. So I was like, okay, that's why I was a horrible student.
Okay, what's your next number?
Let's go with number 20.
What is the most dangerous legal thing that you've ever done, and why did you do it?
Dangerous legal. Everything I do is illegal, man. I speed. I run red lights. I was drinking early. I was drinking at 16, 17 years old. I was like, look, everything I do is illegal. Oh, okay. Something I do that's legal.
Or something you've done in your life. So,
let me see.
Like, for example, Mick, when he picked this question, his was like walking on construction sites with no harnesses. If that gives you some inspiration.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. I don't know. Illegal. Oh!
No, legal.
No, I mean legal. I was like, I do a whole bunch of illegal man. Look. No, okay. This is what I do, and Steve gets me on this. And it has something to do with my internal temperature. If after I get done with the oven and it's still hot, I open the door of the oven.
Do you?
Yes.
Is that dangerous?
Yes.
I mean, I guess it's hot. So if you ran
And he
into
said it was COs that comes out the oven. You're not supposed
Yeah.
to heat your house with the oven, Madden.
Yeah.
You're in energy. You're not supposed
No,
to.
but if you have an electric one.
No, mine is gas. I don't deal with no
Okay.
electricity. I like gas. Cooking with gas.
Okay, yeah, gas. Yeah, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I've only had electric, so
Oh.
I was like,
no, with gas.
yeah. Okay, well that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
That is.
I was
okay.
like, I grew up getting washed up in front of the stove with a tin of water when we were little kids. Your grandmother would wash you up because she wasn't heating the whole house. She would cut the oven on and wash you up right there in the kitchen and dry. I
Yeah.
was like, it's innate in me. So if your house is cold, we would cut the stove on. We didn't die. I'm still here. We may not have all our marbles, but we still here. Yeah, so that's my thing.
Okay.
That's my thing. Yeah.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Okay. Give me one more number.
Okay, one more number is we'll go in the middle. Let's do 13.
13. Okay. This will be a great one for you, actually.
Okay.
What's something that you've always wanted to learn?
I would really, really, really learn I would really, really love to learn how to speak another language.
Okay.
An
Which
easy one,
one?
though. I need an easy one. I have a
Okay.
girlfriend, she learned Mandarin. She speaks fluent. It took her a couple of years. That's the hardest thing. That's the
That one's
hardest one
really
to
hard.
learn.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably should pick Spanish.
Spanish. I think German is supposed to be really easy for English speakers
Is
because
it?
it's very similar. So, like, a lot of the words sound like instead of and, they say und. It's just
Un.
it's just
Oh.
UND instead of AND.
Maybe I should look
So,
that up with I used to have the little app on my phone. What
like
was it called?
Duolingo.
Duolingo.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. And I wanted to learn all the bad words first and because I use a lot of bad words, but you know. But that's what I want to do and I was looking since the phonetic way of speaking and they use a lot of tildes in Spanish and
Yeah.
Q's sound like H's or J's sound like
J's
sound
sound like H's.
H's and yeah,
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, is that going to be too confusing for my brain? Because I believe I was dyslexic. I believe I am. Because, back in the 70s, they weren't testing kids for that. I was like, because I would see one word and it'll look like something else. And then my doctor said, oh, you probably was dyslexic. He was like, oh, we all were. I was like, oh, okay. But probably Spanish. So you said try German, maybe easier.
Yeah.
I still have it on my phone, Madden, so I'm going to try.
You should try it. Yeah.
What's another word? Und is
Und
ooh,
is and.
und is
like
and.
mine is my.
Oh, mine. Und my.
So that would be and my, I guess.
And
I don't
my, yeah.
I don't claim to be an expert. I did German Duolingo for like 2 weeks. But that's what I
And you
remember.
retained and my.
Yeah. There you go.
Great job.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to try it. It's still on my phone. I'm probably still paying the membership on it, right?
I only ever did the free version, so maybe that's why I don't know it.
Yeah.
All right. Oh my gosh. Okay. So what's one thing that you want listeners to take away from this episode?
Try lifetime learning. Just try it. If you want to learn something, learn it. If you want to do something, do it. What's stopping you? What's stopping you? That's all I got. Everything is right there for you. It's waiting. We have YouTube University and it's free 99. Doesn't cost you a thing. And you could just type in what you want to know and I'm sure somebody has a tutorial on it. Learn it. That's it.
Well, thank you, Marcy, for joining us today.
You're welcome, Madden. This was awesome.
This was
I had
really
a good
fun.
time. It was fun. You learned a little bit more about me too,
I
didn't you, Matt?
did. That's what I'm loving about this. I get to actually learn about people that I've worked with.
No, just like I've been here for 3 years. I didn't know she was illegal. She ride around here running red lights, stop signs, speeding stuff. Right. Shoot, jumping people in line at the grocery store. Right. Having 20 items in the 10-item lane. Yeah, it's me. I'd be like, girl, I only got 10 more. Come on, get me. They'd be like, come on. It's like, okay, we ain't gonna tell nobody. Yeah, that's my illegal activity. Or my legal activity.
Allegedly.
Right.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Yes.
Listeners, don't forget to follow us and like our podcast wherever you're listening. If you're watching us on YouTube or you want to watch us on YouTube, you can find us at Retrofit Radio Podcast. And you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Retrofit Radio Podcast. We will see you next time.